In episode 9, we get a look into what happened in the birth of Jericho. Dorothy had him at home, all natural, water birth, no drugs. Very impressive stuff. She took some time off of work, which gave her a nice little shout out. Worth mentioning, that guy is actually a newscaster in Philly. The girl, not so much. But she's a new mom. She has to hire a nanny. And worst of all, Sean had to go out to California to film this cooking competition show where he was going to be a judge on it. So it left Dorothy all alone with a newborn. She could have gotten help from Julian, but she didn't feel comfortable doing so because she was pretty sure he was back on drugs. So she was just all alone, and she would watch the episodes of this cooking competition with Jericho, but she was obviously having a tough go of it. And one particular day, it's over 100 degrees in Philly. She's gone out, gotten some food, and when she gets home, she parks the car. Worth mentioning, she parks like an asshole because she really boxes the guy behind her in. There was plenty of space in front. But more importantly, she forgets to bring Jericho inside. She just goes throughout her normal routine. And it wasn't intentional because she turned on the baby monitor. But baby, hot car, not hard to figure out what happened. And eventually, she went out and got Jericho from the car. But when she did so, she just proceeded to act like nothing wrong happened. Including when a food delivery comes to the house for Sean 4 days early. It's this massive slab of meat that they just left on the table. And instead of putting it away, Dorothy just left it there, coddling this dead infant. And it didn't take long for that hunk of meat to start to rot pretty quickly under the hot Philly summer. Gets pretty muggy here. When the last episode of the show airs, Dorothy is FaceTiming Sean, but Sean can tell that something isn't right. Sean just figures, though, that it's postpartum depression. But when it finally comes time for Sean to come home, he needs a ride from the airport, but Dorothy isn't answering. She's not trying to be a bitch. She's literally in a catatonic state. Julian eventually shows up, knocking on the door with nobody answering. He gets in the house using the spare key, and he was the first one, outside of Dorothy, obviously, to find Jericho dead. Now, back with present day, Dorothy is awoken really early in the morning by Leanne because the car alarm is going off. Sean has already taken off out of the house. He's gone to the fish market. So a very groggy Dorothy finds the key, turns the car alarm off, but they start having a conversation about how Leanne has helped Sean with the food. And Dorothy tells her, yeah, you can do that as long as you get everything else done. And Leanne takes that as a slap in the face, saying, what, have I not been attentive to Jericho? And it's not like Dorothy meant it that way. She's just tired and miserable. So Leanne says, hey, I'll make you breakfast. And she goes downstairs to start making her breakfast, but Sean has arrived back from the fish market and tells her that what she's about to make, this cayenne omelet, it's not actually something Dorothy wants. She just thinks she wants it. She tells herself that she likes spicy stuff, but she doesn't actually. It messes with her stomach. So just tell her it's in there and she'll believe it. Leanne starts to take it upstairs, but Sean stops her, telling her that what happened to Jericho isn't a crime, at least not according to the police. The police told the family that it actually happens a lot more than you think. But Leanne doesn't say anything, just saying that I need to get this food upstairs. And when she does, Dorothy is trying on swimsuits because that day's story is going to be about this local pool opening up, and the producer wants her to dive into it. But Leanne gives her a backhanded compliment, saying that she looks great, but pointing out the fact that people know that she just had a baby, so they won't get taken aback. It makes Dorothy pretty self-conscious. Dorothy gets ready and rushes out the door, grabbing the car keys, and Sean is yelling at her, hey, I need the car to do deliveries. But Dorothy says, well, I need it more. And when she gets in her car, she smells something weird and she turns around and sees the fish that Sean had got from the market and projectile vomits all over the front of the car. She walks back into the house in rough shape, sick, just puking her guts out. And Sean puts the remnants of the omelet that she was eating into a Ziploc bag and puts it in the freezer. Ironically enough, putting it right next to Jericho's placenta. Sounds delicious. So Dorothy has to call out of work for that day, and as she's trying to rest, she hears the car alarm going off again. Although this time she can't find the car keys. And she's in pajamas, she's running around the house trying to find them, and eventually she locates them, but it's not working. Every time she presses the button to turn the alarm off, nothing's happening. And it causes her, in her pajamas once again, to go out in the middle of the street trying to turn the car alarm off in front of all of these people who are staring. Some even have their phones out recording the incident. And finally, the alarm goes off, but only when Dorothy opens up the back seat, which is where Jericho died. Although, as soon as she closes it, the car alarm goes back on. And it turns out that Leanne is on the third floor of the house, just screwing with her. She goes back inside and is watching the story that she was supposed to do that night, and the girl that replaced her. It has to do with this pool opening back up in Roxborough, which I'll tell you right now, I live in Roxborough. We don't have pools like that. So that's a lie. But when Sean comes in, she asks Sean if he needs a taste tester for the dish that he was working on, but he says, no, you're sick. So he goes and asks Leanne because he still can't taste anything. He tells Leanne that what he's prepared is blowfish, and blowfish gets a bad rap because of the fact that it's so poisonous. But if prepared correctly, it's actually delicious. He just needs to know if she likes it. Although when she puts it in her mouth, she gives a face and spits it out. She doesn't like it at all. And he says, well, try it again. I need to know why you don't like it. But instead of taking another bite, she asks, why did you stay with her? And Sean says, people make mistakes. Dorothy made a mistake. And Dorothy had to spend 4 days with that dead child because she was waiting for Sean to come home and help her with it. And Sean's mistake was the fact that he left her. Leanne takes another bite of the fish and tells Sean that it tastes like bad fruit. She then goes upstairs to find Dorothy handling Jericho, and she sort of rips Jericho away from Dorothy, which takes Dorothy aback. But she tells Dorothy, you're sick. You have a bug. You don't want Jericho to get it. And while Dorothy understands, she feels hurt because Leanne's kind of making her out to be a bad mom. Thank you so much for watching this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you thought it sucked. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up soon. And please be nice in the comments section. Nobody likes being told they suck, even if it's true. Oh, and sharing's caring.